Support my Ko-fi account. Link will be in the description.
His name is Henry. He's all about those classics. Dust off the old ones and gives them shine. He finds some goodies and finds you some baddies. And reviews ones folks from forgot. His name is Henry. He's over the
Can't be done, I tell you.
mustache.
Can't be done.
20th century reviews are here. 20th century reviews are here.
Hello, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird, your host with the mustache here. And this is going to be the last time I will be filming in this location. I'm moving to a new location. Well, I've been here since I was 21, well, late 21. And now I'm finally moving to a brand new location. Ah, the memories. Play that clip show. Ah, good times. Well, let us take a look at the last Abbott and Costello movie to be made in, at least at MGM. Abbott and Costello, Lost in a Harem. So, let us get lost, shall we? Two magicians and a singer both get arrested, but they're helped by a certain someone who later reveals himself to be a prince. Afterwards, they return the favor by helping the prince take down his abusive uncle. But that's more easier said than done, given how the singer gets hypnotized into nearly marrying the uncle, and the two magicians have to find a way to get her out of this situation, as well as them. helping the prince to get his throne back. So, what do I think of Abbott and Costello Lost in the Harem? Well, I like it. The film was directed by Charles Regner, who played a bit part in the Charlie Chaplin film The Kid, directed Buster Keaton's Steamboat Bill Jr., also directed the Marx Brothers film The Big Store. After Abbott and Costello, Rio Rita, as well as Abbott and Costello in Hollywood, the duo made one more film for MGM, that of course being this film, and they made it while they were still working with Universal on their film In Society. Well, I couldn't find any information on this film's box office or critical reception. What I do know is that this film got banned in a couple of Arabian countries. The production design for this movie and sets are incredibly impressive. Well, that could be because they were leftover sets from an MGM fantasy film called Kismet. And I really do like the dance numbers. Yeah, this movie has a couple of dance numbers. My only issue with them is that they don't really serve anything to the story. In fact, they bring the story to a screeching halt. You could have trimmed them down and not much would be lost. And then there's musical numbers by Jimmy Dorsey. Now you gotta be really old to know who he is. Well, I'll educate you. Jimmy Dorsey was a jazz musician who played the clarinet. He was hot stuff back in the day. He was in bands like the Dorsey Brothers and several other bands. He even wrote songs like Stole My Gal, as well as I Got a Feeling You're Foolin', So Rare, and Sentimental Over You, and several other songs. He plays a song in this film called John Silver, not to be confused with the John Silver from Treasure Island, or Treasure Planet. While I can't play the whole song due to copyright, I'll play a little bit of it. The film starts out with a crystal ball glazer who looks an awful lot like John Carradine, only for me to be surprised that he's not John Carradine. He's played by Milton Parson, who's best known for his appearances in the Twilight Zone episodes. Well, anywho, not John Carradine, Crystal Ball Glazer, tells us to glaze into the future as we are introduced to one of our main characters, Ramo. I'll talk a little bit more about him later, but he goes into a nightclub where we see that our two main comedians, Abbott and Costello, are called Gravy and Johnson, which either sounds like the name of a local diner or a local tool store. You make the call. We're also introduced to their boss, who has the biggest nose I've ever seen on a character. Seriously, W.C. Fields would be envious of that nose. As we go into the nightclub, we're introduced to another one of our main characters, Hazel Moon, which sounds like the name of a Sailor Moon character. She's played by Marilyn Maxwell, who you might remember her character in Lemon Drop Kid from my Lemon Drop Kid review. Check that review out. Anyways, just like in that movie, Marilyn Maxwell has a nice set of vocal cords. So let's listen to her song.
And I can bet a horse and get 10,000 back for two. But for goodness sake, what does it take? What does it take to get you?
After the shoe, we find out that Hazel ain't exactly fond of Rambo, as we discover that Rambo has been watching her show quite a lot, to the point where she is uncomfortable of him. She asks her boss to take Rambo out of the theater, but the boss is like, nothing doing. And he tells her that he's going to throw out Harvey and Johnston, but she is very loyal to Harvey and Johnson. So both of them strike up a deal. If the boss puts both Harvey and Johnson on the stage, she'll see Rambo. Cue the music. The nightclub owner finally introduces Harvey and Johnson, played by Abbott and Costello respectively, as they stumble their way onto the stage to start their comedy routine, which is a magic trick where Abbott pretty much hides a cup under a silver bottle, or vice versa. Their act is cut short when Costello, aka Harvey, starts a riot in the nightclub, which has everyone duking it out. Everyone fights and fights and fights, and dukes it out until Harvey and Johnston and Hazel Moon end up in the clink, where we get our first comedy routine, which is Coco Moco, which is basically this movie's version of Niagara Falls from the Three Stooges. Don't believe me? Watch both routines back to back.
It been snapped. All the hatred, all the pent-up emotion of years' suffering welled up within me. I knew I'd never be satisfied until I had my bony fingers wrapped around his throat. So with murder in my heart, slowly I turned. Step by step, step by step, I crept upon him. And when I saw the sneer on his face, I struck, then I grabbed him, and I tried to be second around, that's what I did to him.
Went to Chase, Miami, Dallas, New Orleans, and then I came face to face with a rat that had ruined my life. It was in Niagara Falls. Niagara Falls! Slowly I turned, and step by step, inch by inch, I walked up to him and I smashed him. I hit him. I bumped him. I tore him to pieces and I knocked him down.
After that routine, Rambo comes by the jail cell to break out Hazel, although Hazel wants nothing to do with him. After Rambo makes an offer, she agrees to help Rambo only if he breaks Harvey and Johnson out. He agrees, and this all leads to a whole jail breakout scene with the Kokomoko guy going crazy on the guard, which helps them get out of jail, only for more guards to show up, and Costello has a gun to them, only for the gun to bend once it has a candle to it. His hat gets blown a hole into, and with a little help from the Kokomoko guy, he gives all the guards the slip and gets the hell on out of there. We cut to Rambo's Desert Riders giving a musical number. They're called the Sons of the Desert. I freaking love these guys. They kind of remind me of the 40 Thieves from Aladdin 3 before Aladdin 3. I especially love this guy with the big beard. Rambo, Hazel, and Harvey arrive. And in this scene, we discover that Rambo is a prince whose throne has been taken over by his dastardly uncle. Our protagonists are quite taken aback by the fact that their savior turned out to be royalty and ask what's in it for them. The deal they strike a bargain with is the deal of them taking 2 hypnotizing rings from his uncle so that he could get back his throne. In return, they will give them free passage back to America. After they all decide to hit the hay, one of the Sons of the Desert snores so hard that the bearded Son of the Desert has his own beard shoved in Costello's face, and Costello has his own tootsies be licked by a goat. After a long night, they finally make it to Prince Rambo's kingdom, where Abbott and Costello meet Bobo, played by Lock Martin. And this dude is huge. I mean, he also played Gort in The Day the Earth Stood Still, but in real life, this guy's a giant. He makes me look like a nilbog. Okay, movie, here are my jokes. Number 5. He makes me look like an Oompa Loompa. The original or the Tim Burton film, take your pick. Number 4. He makes me look like Mini-Me from Austin Powers. Number 3. It makes me look like one of the 7 dwarves from Snow White. The OG Snow White, though, not the remake. Number 2. He makes me look like Marty from the Pirates of the Caribbean sequels. Number 2. He makes me look like Peter Dinklage. Take your pick again. And number 1 is It makes me look like a munchkin. Play it to me, baby. The running gag with Bobo is that he thinks Abbott and Costello, aka Harvey and Johnston, are Hollywood scouts. So throughout the film, he's often helping them so that he can get into the movies. And the fact that this dude is gigantic. They make a whole joke about how big his hands are. We also get the will they, won't they romance between Hazel and Prince Ramo. Hazel hates Prince Ramo, but we all know that she's gonna end up with him by the end, so why bother giving this will they, won't they romance? It's predictable even by 1940 standards. Lets them in, and we find out that Prince Ramo's uncle has Jimmy Dorsey and his band hypnotized. And speaking of Ramo's uncle, we see Ramo's uncle having a dude being dragged across the street by a rope. Everyone is laughing except this one guy who gets whipped for not enjoying the cruelty of seeing a man getting dragged across the street by a rope. This is Prince Ramo's uncle, whose name is Nimavin, which is vitamin spelled backwards. Yeah, it's a classic movie gag, taking words and names and spelling them backwards, like Alucard and Dracula, and Son of Dracula, and Red Room and Murder in The Shining, or Nilbog and Goblin in Troll 2. Nimavin is played by Douglas Dumbrell, who's probably been a lot of movie villains. He is such a wicked tyrant. We find out in this scene that he had a man dragged across the street by a rope and horses, all because some guy tried to steal a button from his robe. They also find out if they steal the rings and get caught, they are gonna have their heads cut off. Nimavin is so cruel, he even sentenced his own servants to get lashed. But like all tyrants, he has a weakness, that being blondes, which Hazel is. But after Costello lets it slip out, he hypnotizes them with his rings by putting his rings through a painting, which I gotta admit is pretty clever. It's like a Scooby-Doo gag. Well, he hypnotizes them to get the truth out of them. Once the truth is out, he takes Hazel, calls Abbott and Costello termites, which causes them to eat every bit of furniture in the room, including Costello eating a wooden leg which has an elephant on it. After that, he announces Hazel and says that she's the most beautiful woman in the world, and those who don't find her beautiful will have their heads cut off. Hazel is under Nimavin's control. Thankfully, Ramo comes to the rescue by putting a pin in it. It turns out that a pin being sticked is enough to destroy the illusion. He does the same thing to both Abbott and Costello, who has eaten every bit of furniture in the room, and after they escape, they end up once again back in jail with that crazy Kokomoko dude playing air piano. They manage to escape the jail cell by hiding in the laundry, where they meet Tima. And despite her not having a whole lot of screen time, she is pretty funny as she thinks, just like the guard, he thinks they could get her into the movies. And just like the guard, she ends up unintentionally helping them. And after they escape the wives' quarters, they decide to play a game of dress up. And we get a classic mirror scene between Abbott and Nimavin. And it's a very classic movie routine that pretty much became popularized with the Marx Brothers. And you know the old saying, you can't beat the classics. I say if you're a fan of Abbott and Costello or Arabian comedies, check this film out. I give it 5 gold stars. That's pretty much all I have to say about Abbott and Costello, Lost in a Harem. Well, until the next review, I'm Henry R. Mockingbird. So long.
All right, let's move this along. Let's start the countdown.
And see you in a new location. Everybody, get out of here! There's a bomb!